It seems absurd. But good stewards know we can be godlike. The great author and poet, Khalil Gibran, says, if we give away our stuff, that's giving away a lot. But only if we give away ourselves do we give away everything. So why do I begin with those words of Khalil Gibran? I do because I think they mirror the first words that Deacon Jim read in our gospel passage. The famous John 3:16. We've all seen posters in football stadiums and baseball stadiums. John 3:16. God so loved the world, He gave us His only Son. Why did He do that? Give us His Son. We know the answer. Why? So that our sins could be forgiven. But as I have discussed with you so many times, He didn't need to do it that way. He is God. And every act of God has infinite value. God could have sneezed in heaven and forgiven us our sins. He did it that way because He wanted us to be like Him. He wanted us to learn that to get to heaven, we've got to learn how to love. And to truly love, we've got to learn how to give ourselves to others. It's encapsulated in Jesus' very short dictate: want to get to heaven? Serve, and not be served. That's the ticket. Serve and not be served. So let's explore in two stories, giving in a big way, and then we'll explore more at our level, giving in a smaller way. This first story is a modern parable, and it's based on a true story. Dr. Ralph Gay was an accomplished surgeon. But he decided he was going to take Jesus seriously and serve. So he went to the South Pacific to serve the poorest of the poor. Several years after he went, his former pastor, Father George, took a trip to see Ralph. And when he got there, Ralph said, "Father, nice to see you, but come with me. I've got to do an operation." Well, the operation was not in a big hospital. It was in a rather small hut. It took several hours. It was on a little girl, and it was successful. And after it was over, Father George said, "Ralph, back in the States, how much would you have gotten for that operation?" And the good doctor said, "I don't know, $10,000, $20,000, I guess." And Father George said, "Well, Ralph, how much are you going to get here?" And he laughed and he said, "I don't know, maybe 10, 20 cents. Maybe not that much." But then he went on and said, "But you know, Father, it makes me happy. Happy down here." And we all lose track of that, I think. We think it's such a sacrifice to serve. Many ways it is, but sacrifice, helping others, makes us truly happy. And Dr. Ralph understood that. But after saying it makes me happy, he went on and said, and you know, Father, you of all people know, it's going to give me an opportunity to get to heaven. And in heaven, we become godlike. Isn't that awesome? And it is. Please wrap your minds around that thought. In heaven, we don't just have perfect fun for all eternity, and we do. We become godlike. That's what our God tells us. Well, probably none of us are going to have an opportunity to be like Father Ralph and do the magnificent service that he does. But, second story, we can do this. William Arthur Ward is an American writer, good man, and he's got a spiritual game plan, and his spiritual game plan is he walks around with inspirational quotes in his pocket, prayer cards, holy pictures, and from time to time during the day, he'll surprise a person with a huge smile and handing them one of those cards or one of those inspirational sayings. Now, that's a neat thing to do. But he doesn't do it just to be giving away a little inspirational thought. Just like Khalil Gibran says, giving away stuff, that's good. But William Arthur Ward does it to remind himself every day to give himself away. When he does that, he begins thinking, who in my life needs my help? And let me give it to that person in whatever way that I can. Okay, back to us. It's Trinity Sunday. So although you're going to groan, I'm going to take the opportunity again to say, we want to be godlike, we've got to give away our stuff. And I recommend Trinity giving. 3% of our gross income to church and charity. But what's even more important, very much more important, is figuring out how to give ourselves away. Giving away stuff, that's the third leg of the stewardship tripod. The second leg is service, and Jesus says, I got to do it, got to serve, and not be served. So sit down sometime, please, and think about it. In what way am I serving? At home, do I occasionally say, look, I'm going to get out of my man cave, I'm going to put my Bud Light down, and I'm going to go play a board game with my family? Do we pick up the telephone and call that relative, that friend that maybe we're not talking with and reconcile? Maybe a relative or a friend who needs help and say, I heard you got a problem. May I help? Why do we want to do that? Well, we want to do that because we want to be like God, and God insists that we be like God, and God gave us Himself, and He asks us to imitate Him and give ourselves away, so that as Dr. Ralph says we can be happy down here and up there become godlike. My sisters and brothers, we are all called to be good stewards. And it seems absurd, but good stewards know we can be godlike.